I a-hole for getting a newly married couple kicked out of the apartment? I, male 23, rented an apartment with a guy named Chris. He's not a college student unlike my previous roommates. Reason I chose to rent with an older guy is because of the situations college students put me in and being irresponsible. Not everyone, but that's my experience. He had a girlfriend at the time that visited 2 to 3 times a week. From what I understand, her family weren't approving of their relationship. One evening, Chris came and brought what I thought was, his girlfriend, and he told me they just eloped and are now married despite his wife's family's disapproval. She brought a small bag with her. Asked if she was going to live with us. He said yes. I asked if the landlord knew and whether any changes were added to the lease since she's living with us. He said the landlord allowed her to stay till she starts working and pay for rent. I said congrats, then I went to my room. The next day, I noticed Chris's strange behavior. He started asking me to eat breakfast outside and let them have privacy, / asking that I keep my laundry in my room, / asking that I stop bringing certain foods into the kitchen and fridge because his wife's allergic to them, and no more friends over. I was so annoyed, especially after I got called names whenever I entered the apartment because I walked in on them doing it in the living room several times. I had to exit the place quickly, and they kept me out for like 3 hours once. Chris was livid and said since my parents didn't do a good job at teaching me what is appropriate and what's not, he thought he'd make a list of places I'm not allowed to go into the apartment during certain times. Example, not using TV after 12, not using the bathroom after 12, as his wife might be dressed in revealing clothes, till I talk to him first. What time I'm allowed to return to the apartment, and when I'm allowed to use appliances and such. I flipped out and asked him what the hell am I paying rent for then? Chris said if I respect myself enough, then I'd stick to these new arrangements. Yeah, well, I had enough respect for myself to go talk to my landlord. So I told him everything. It turned out that he didn't know Chris's wife moved in. He had an argument with Chris and gave him an eviction note to leave the apartment. Chris came back and said he couldn't believe I did this to him. Said he thought we were friends. I remained quiet, till his wife came yelling that they're screwed, that they don't have money to rent elsewhere and family won't take them. I kept shrugging while Chris was screaming at me asking if I'm happy with a newly married couple being homeless because of what I did. Chris been guilting me, saying I should have talked to him about it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're absolutely not the a-hole. Chris seems to think that he can dictate the happenings of the apartment 100% when he only pays, presumably, 50% of the rent. He also obviously lied to you, telling you that the landlord said it was okay. Never have I had a landlord, even the most lenient ones, just allow another tenant without adding them into the lease. It's cute he thought you were friends when he so blatantly disrespected you. This is manipulation. They're homeless because of his doing, not yours. Hands up if you want to bet Chris told girlfriend / wife that the apartment was his, and OP was leasing a single room. So of course he can lay down the law. Probably. Sounds like he's trying to be the big man on campus, which ultimately translates into a-hole, given that he has no ground to stand on. Not a-hole. You didn't do anything to them. They did it to themselves. Their rules were ridiculous, and you absolutely don't have intercourse in a living room you share. They were the ones breaking the rules set forth by the landlord in the lease he signed. And he lied to you about it. You are not the a-hole here, but Chris and his wife are. Yeah. The couch wasn't available the entire time since Chris said didn't feel comfortable with me sitting on it since his wife sits there all the time. Suddenly, I'm seeing why her family didn't approve of this relationship. Chris seems to be controlling idiot. Don't sweat over it. You did nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. Chris sounds like an entitled moron. Nothing to feel guilty about at all. You didn't do anything wrong. Your only mistake was the initial concession to let the wife in without conditions. Hard to see a situation like this coming though. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she can stay with me but her fiancé can't? I, 28 female, am a single mother of 5 kids. It's a lot, but I managed. It's helped by the fact that some of the kids are older and I have had a lot of help. I couldn't have done it alone. My sister's 33 female partner, 34 male, can be crappy about it. He thinks he has some sort of moral high ground due to my kids, and him being older than me means he treats me like he knows better than I do. He and my sister are facing eviction soon, and they want to stay with me. I've said that she can stay, but he can't. I don't want him around my kids when it's a family event that we can leave anytime. Why on earth would I want him living with us with no escape? My sister was upset, but ultimately accepted. However, she has asked if I would change my mind more than once. I said if he found somewhere else to stay the majority of the time, we would negotiate on him coming over a certain number of nights per week, which she accepted. Her partner, on the other hand, is hopping mad. Says I'm being cruel, using my power over him to humiliate him and punishing him for his opinions. He even compared me to a tyrant. I've said that if I was on the fence before, there's no way he's allowed here now, and said that while I was open to him coming over if my sister is staying with me, I now don't want him coming over at all. My sister has said that this is unfair, and she should be allowed to see her boyfriend, and that I'm not her mother. I can't control her, and that if she's going to be paying rent, we agreed she'd give me $100 per month for food, bills, and a guest room. Then she should be allowed guests over. Am I the a-hole for not letting him stay over? Info. My sister has not moved in yet. We're still just talking through everything, and I have a very good security system, so she cannot realistically sneak him in or anything like that. Not the a-hole. And honestly, if your sister is going to be that way, tell her she's not welcome either. She's a guest in your home, and it is not her house, even if she's giving some money a month. Not the a-hole. And I'm seriously more worried about your kids. His attitude to you is bad enough, but kids pick up on this crap. Please, please, do not let him near them, for the love of God. What happens if he's at home full-time and you have to leave unexpectedly to get something done? Would you trust him with them while you do day-to-day things like grocery shopping? Please don't subject them to this. You're right to exclude the boyfriend. He sounds like a tool. Based on your sister's comments about entitlement based on rent, I'd reconsider allowing her to stay. After a month, it will be, my boyfriend has a right to stay here as I want because I pay rent. This sounds like you're setting yourself up for trouble. Tell them to go somewhere else, and check their attitudes and entitlement if they expect people to want to help them in future. Not day home. $100 a month works out to $3.28 a day. It's laughable. If her boyfriend weasels his way into the house, the rent is further reduced to $1.64 per day for each of them. This is supposed to cover food and utilities too. Not day hole. It's your house and you get to decide who is and isn't allowed in it. Secondly, if this person is like this to you, what kind of things is he going to say to your kids? You've absolutely done the right thing telling him no. And if your sister doesn't like it, she can find somewhere to live, paying a load more than $100 a month, and she can have who likes visit. Thankfully, he's got the sense to not say anything to the kids directly. But my oldest, a teenager, has overheard some things he did not appreciate, which he now holds against the fiancé. I don't doubt that if he was living here for however long they need to get back on their feet, he would say more things that the younger kids may overhear. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's girlfriend that, all said and done, she's still a guest in our house? My parents have an apartment in San Francisco that they generously let me and my brother share while we're working out here. They own it. We split utilities, and we've been living here for the past 2 years. I had it to myself for another year or so before my brother joined me. Recently, that is for the past 4 to 5 months, my brother has found himself, as he often does, with a rather quirky girlfriend who just doesn't have a sense of boundaries. When she's not stoned and pretending to do art, she's constantly acting like she's the in-house interior decorator that we hired, constantly giving suggestions and unsolicited feedback. Worse, she's really taken to being comfortable here, and is practically living out of my brother's room. I've caught her lounging in the living room topless or in just a robe, walking around naked from my brother's room to the bathroom. He uses the guest bath, I use the main one attached to my room, hanging her bra and panties to dry on various pieces of furniture. It's just really bad and trashy. I've told him to keep her in line, but he refuses to listen. He's totally smitten with her, and I can't blame the guy. I think the last straw was finding her in her panties on my favorite chair, reading through my mail stash picking out. What? Her mail that is starting to come here now? I yelled at her and said I would appreciate it if she were to give our place a little respect, and realized that all said and done, she's still a guest in our place. And until she at least engaged to my brother, there's no obligation to consider her family, you know? She huffed a little and then said I should mellow out or something. But I was done talking to her and stormed off. Am I the a-hole here? I'm at my wits' end dealing with her. Edit. Ages. I'm male 25, he is male 23, and she's female 22. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's getting her mail delivered there? Kick her the hell out. Not the a-hole. She could use mail bin delivered as proof she's living there. You need her out ASAP. But ultimately, it is your parents' decision, and you need to let them know before it becomes a legal issue. Info. How many days a week is she staying over? Is she there when your brother is not? Does she pay anything towards the bills? Not the a-hole. Unless/until your brother wants her to officially move in, she's a guest and should be more respectful. I'd ask your brother why her mail is coming there. Have they low-key moved her in without telling you? Yeah, I don't know if she actually got mail or is just pretending. I'm gonna bring it up with the parents. I didn't want them to get in our mess, but the deal was we split utilities and that's it. Not the a-hole. Don't get stuck with a squatter claiming squatters' rights. Kick her out quick. Never thought about this. I second this. I live in San Francisco too, and tenant protections here are insane. If she is getting mail and has been her primary residence for more than 30 days, she might have established tenancy, and getting her out will be a nightmare. Talk to your parents immediately and kick her out. If need be, you might need to get a landlord attorney. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for taking money from my boyfriend because he did something dumb with my car keys? So for starters, I don't currently have a license, so I know for a fact I did not lose these keys in question. I have not driven at all this year. The other day, I realized my car's inspection was out, and I asked my friend at a car dealership if he could come get it and get it checked out, which he said sure. So I start looking for my car keys, and I have 2 sets of them. Both are gone, and my boyfriend insists he didn't take them, even though he's the only person who can drive, and does drive that car a few times a week. After hours and hours of searching, I finally find one of the keys in his pants that went through the washer and dryer, and won't start the car at all. The second set is still nowhere in sight. So basically, after a week of searching, I had to get the car towed to the dealership and purchase 2 new sets of keys to be programmed. It cost a fair bit of money, and my boyfriend feels that since it's my car, it's my problem. I ended up taking half of the cost from cash in his wallet. Part of my annoyance is he did the same thing a year or 2 ago with my truck. Lost both keys. Thankfully, I was able to prove to the dealership what happened and that I owned a truck, and they were able to get me a new key without the truck being towed in. I paid for both new keys that time myself. Am I the a-hole for taking money like that from him? I also want to add I'm currently working part-time from home due to the loss of license, while he works full-time. I make less than he does now, but I still pay my half of the bills. Edited to add. Since apparently within the 5 minutes of being posted, I'm being accused of making horrible life choices and being a drunk driver. I'd like everyone to know I have epilepsy and had a seizure at the end of December, which requires my doctor to take my license for a minimum of 6 months. This is why I'm working part-time now, because I can't drive to a job and my doctor wants me to use this time to recover properly. What the hell? Not the a-hole. You should be paying the full price. If you're not using your car, honestly, just sell it. He's proven himself twice now to be responsible with your property and just not have common decency or respect for you and your property to replace what he lost. Are you going to wait for this to happen a 3rd time? Either don't let him drive your car or he has one of the 2 keys, and if he loses it, he needs to pay to replace. Well, I have epilepsy and am within the time frame of being licensed still. I'm hoping to be able to drive again relatively soon, which is why I still have the car and truck. If this turns out to be a longer problem, I'll probably consider selling them. I agree with you though. I've started keeping the secondary sets in my nightstand because of what happened with my truck, but apparently he went and looked at backups when he lost the first set and never told me. So he essentially stole your keys, lost them, then expected you to pay? Waste man. He owes you the full price and a genuine apology. Yes, I'm sorry I didn't mention that before. These keys have been in my nightstand since the truck issue, and I rarely need them because I always hang the main keys back up. To be honest, I don't even know when the secondary sets went missing because I haven't driven in so long. I could have sworn he just drove the car to work last week, so it had to be relatively recently this all occurred. Info: why are you still together? His inability to accept small responsibility is now causing you to steal. Trust me, I've been asking myself the same thing recently. I feel like breaking up over car keys sounds super silly, but I don't think it's particularly fair for me to be paying about $700 myself and need to pay for my half of the bills because of something he did.